Good morning, everyone. We're continuing here in KITZUR, HILCHOS, SHABBOS, the laws of bishul, of cooking, and those things that you could cook or you could not cook once again. And he says, davar metugan, something that is fried. Davar metugan, something that is fried. Yesh machlekes im dan moise kedavar mavushal kedavar tzali. There's a machlekes, a discussion whether or not you consider it to be something that is cooked or something that is roasted. Now, if we call it something that's cooked, then as we learned previously, ein bishul achar bishul, there's no problem of cooking after cooking. You could then heat it up in whatever permissible way you could on Shabbos, and there's no isser. But if you call it a davar tzli, something that is roasted, then it would be an issue of a bishul achar tzli, which you're not allowed to do. So we'll have to see as we go through how exactly we're going to look at this. Next category, davar shenizbashel b'shemen, something that is cooked in oil. Devarim shenizbashel b'har b'shemen, things that are cooked in a lot of oil. Going, for example, itriyos mituganos, for example, fried noodles. Mechein shkedi marak, mandalach, so too the soup nuts that many people have on their Shabbos table, those little yellow tiny things that people enjoy to put into their soup. And we're talking about the ones that were not baked. They were only just cooked, fried in oil. It's called mavushal. It's called cooked. And therefore there's no problem of cooking them on Shabbos. Therefore, it's like a dried food product that is mavushal, that is cooked, and that's why you're allowed to put them into your soup on Friday night, even though the soup is piping hot. And perhaps putting your bread inside the soup, we'll have to see, might be more of an issue, but over here for sure not, because it's ein bishul achar bishul. Now, utzrichim later, you have to know, whenever we say this concept, there's no cooking after cooking, so anything that's cooked, you could like recook to heat it up. Something that was cooked dry. Even though that we're allowed to put it into a kli rishon, which is the first vessel that has the hot food in there, that's removed from the fire. So for example, it would mean that if you had a pot that was on the stovetop and you removed it now from the stovetop, that's a kli rishon, that's the first level of the vessel, and therefore you'd be able to pour these soup nuts right inside of there, says the KITZUR. Now, you can also put these food products close to the fire, not on the fire itself, but close to the fire. Even if there's a pot that's standing on the fire, and you want to put these food products on top of that pot, you're allowed to do that as well. Nevertheless, you cannot put them directly on the fire. Even if the fire itself is covered with like a blech or something like that. That's going to be similar to a case that we see later on. If you remove a pot from the fire and you have no intention to return it to the fire, you're not allowed to return that pot to the fire, even if the fire was covered. Because that's called returning. You're returning it to where it was cooking, and you're like cooking all over again. I'm going to explain later. Which means that if I take some of the food that was cooked already, and now I put it directly on the fire, that's called chazar, that's called returning it to the flame, and recooking, I cannot do such a thing. So these are the details over here, many that we have coming up still as well, and in Yisrael Hashem will continue to work our way through the malacha of bishul, which certainly comes up pretty much every single week in the Shabbos kitchen. All the best.